A silent revolution is unfolding across the open seas, and it's set to transform how the world transports cargo, constructs enormous projects, and keeps global commerce moving. Imagine ships so massive they make entire city blocks seem tiny, yet so expertly designed they glide through the ocean with the accuracy of finely crafted machines. This isn't a glimpse into the future. China has already made it a reality. As many nations continue depending on outdated fleets, China has introduced a new generation of colossal vessels that appear ready to serve for the next century. We're talking about container ships capable of carrying the equivalent of entire shopping centers, along with advanced vessels built to extract valuable minerals from ocean depths no human could ever survive. Today, we're counting down the 10 most astonishing Chinese ships dominating the seas, so stay with us until the very end. The number one spot will absolutely leave you speechless. But before we dive in, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. COSCO Shipping Universe Global Trade has stepped into a whole new era, and one ship sums up that shift perfectly: the COSCO Shipping Universe. Carrying a jaw-dropping 21,237 containers, it makes ordinary cargo vessels look like toys next to it. To give you a sense of scale, this floating warehouse runs 1,312 feet long, longer than the Empire State Building is tall. Launched in 2018, this giant changed the game for how goods travel from the factory floor to your front door. The trick behind it all is a set of advanced computer systems that work out the ideal weight distribution across thousands of containers, positioning each one with mathematical precision. That lets the ship haul the equivalent of a freight train stretching more than 46 meters. Picture it as the most perfectly balanced game of Tetris ever played, except every block weighs tons and the stakes run into the millions. Still, size isn't really the headline here. The real breakthrough is efficiency. COSCO runs through more than 450 ports across 160 countries, weaving together a maritime network that keeps world commerce flowing. The payoff is remarkable. There's a good chance the iPhone in your pocket or the Nike sneakers on your feet cross the ocean on a COSCO ship. With over 320 international routes, this technological powerhouse makes it clear that the future of global trade increasingly speaks with a Chinese accent. Xuelong coming in at number 9 is another maritime heavyweight, the Xuelong. This Valamax-class colossus is a showcase of China's grip on large-scale bulk cargo shipping. Stretching 1,188 feet and boasting a deadweight capacity of 400,000 tons, its 2021 launch left engineers around the globe stunned. What it can do is nothing short of revolutionary. A single voyage carries enough raw material to build 50,000 cars or supply the steel for 15 skyscrapers. But the real story here isn't the sheer capacity, it's the efficiency behind it. Moving that much cargo the traditional way would take several smaller ships, burning far more fuel and taking much longer to get the job done. The secret sits in its advanced hull design, which slices through waves with almost no resistance. Paired with a sophisticated ballast system that keeps the ship perfectly stable even when it's loaded down with mountains of iron ore headed from Brazilian mines to Chinese factories. The real payoff shows up in the economics. It saves roughly $3 million per trip compared to conventional shipping. China has essentially built an unstoppable machine that feeds its industrial appetite at a level of efficiency other nations still consider out of reach for bulk cargo. Fully loaded, this Titan sits about 75 feet below the waterline, which means it needs specially built ports that only a handful of places on Earth actually have. Xuelong 2 next up is something that marked a real turning point in polar exploration. The Xuelong 2, or Snow Dragon 2, the first icebreaker built entirely on homegrown Chinese technology. Older icebreakers could only cut through ice moving in one direction, but this 400-foot beast can carve through up to 5 feet of solid ice going forward or in reverse, which still sounds almost impossible. Its standout trait is that it's practically unstoppable once it hits polar ice. Where other icebreakers get trapped in tight channels, the Xuelong 2 moves like a dancer, spinning and cutting ice from any angle. Tucked inside this polar machine are 8 advanced science labs, along with room for 90 crew members and 20 researchers. Chinese engineers pulled off something that once seemed unrealistic, pairing extreme ice-breaking muscle with complete self-sufficiency. With a range of 17,270 miles on a single tank, this ship can keep working for months in brutal conditions as cold as -22°F. The Xuelong 2 signaled the start of a golden age for Chinese polar exploration. CNOOC 981 now for something entirely different. The CNOOC 981, China's first ultra-deepwater drilling platform and a genuine milestone in offshore engineering. This billion-dollar floating structure measures 374 by 292 feet and tips the scales at 31,000 tons, essentially a 20-story building floating out in open ocean. Its drilling range is staggering. It can work in waters nearly 9,800 feet deep and then drill another 32,800 feet beneath the seabed, adding up to more than 8 miles of total depth, reaching geological layers packed with millions of barrels of energy resources. Put another way, this rig drills deeper than any mountain stands tall, all while riding the waves on the surface. Even more impressive, it was built to hold up against Category 5 hurricanes and waves over 98 feet high. It can house more than 200 workers in conditions that would cripple a conventional platform, thanks to advanced stabilization tech that keeps operations running smoothly even in the middle of a storm. The CNOOC 981 proved to the world that China no longer needs to lean on foreign technology to pull off the impossible. And if you're already amazed by what you've seen so far, wait until you get to what's next. Dream how this next one feels like something out of science fiction, but it's completely real. The Dream How is China's groundbreaking deep-sea mining research vessel, and it's already doing what other countries are still just talking about. Built in 2021, this 374-foot technological marvel can operate remotely controlled underwater vehicles at depths of up to 36,000 feet, deep enough to reach the Mariana Trench, the lowest point on Earth. How does that even work? The underwater robots never need to surface for maintenance. They run on AI-guided systems built to function under crushing pressure that no human could withstand, allowing them to harvest mineral deposits that took millions of years to form. The ocean floor holds rare materials, cobalt, nickel, and manganese nodules that are essential for smartphones and electric vehicle batteries. This ship has turned deep-sea mining from a theoretical idea into a working reality. Yang Shi You 982 halfway through our list. At number 5, we've got the Yang Shi You 982, a semi-submersible crane vessel with a lifting capacity that almost seems to bend the laws of physics. This giant can lift up to 12,000 tons using 2 cranes working in perfect sync. Built in 2017, it blends brute strength with pinpoint precision. Imagine lifting 80 fully loaded Boeing 747s all at once, but raw power means nothing without control. The Yang Shi You 982 can place massive structures with an accuracy of under 3 feet, even while floating in open water. Its advanced stabilization system relies on thousands of sensors constantly tracking waves, wind, and structural strain. The result is remarkable. It installs deep-water oil platforms and sets giant wind turbines in place with surgical precision. It's already helped build more than 50 offshore platforms and keeps working around the clock on China's ambitious renewable energy push. Chinese engineers have pushed crane technology to an almost obsessive level of refinement, creating a machine that can build infrastructure in ocean conditions that would defeat any land-based equipment. This is floating construction power, reimagined for the modern age. Type Olo 3. Now we're stepping into something extraordinary in naval engineering. The Type Olo 3 aircraft carrier, the Fujian, which is completely reshaping Chinese naval power. Launched in 2022, this 1,037-foot supercarrier displaces somewhere between 80,000 and 85,000 tons, putting it in the same league as the largest American warships. But its real innovation isn't its size, it's technology that only the most advanced navies on Earth possess. What sets the Fujian apart is its electromagnetic aircraft launch system, the same cutting-edge catapult technology that experts assumed China couldn't develop on its own just a decade ago. That system lets it launch heavier aircraft carrying more weapons and fuel, dramatically extending its operational reach. Think of it as a floating airport capable of projecting air power thousands of miles from home. The flight deck can hold 50 to 60 aircraft, and the electromagnetic catapults allow for launches roughly every 30 seconds during operations. A pace-holder steam-powered catapult simply couldn't match. Chinese engineers pulled off something remarkable, going from 0 aircraft carriers in 2012 to 3 currently in service, with more on the way. The ship also relies on modern materials and automation that significantly cut down on crew needs compared to older carrier designs. It doesn't run on nuclear propulsion, but the Fujian still proves China has mastered the complex engineering required to run a modern supercarrier. COSCO Shipping Galaxy Taking Bronze is another COSCO masterpiece, one that's rewriting the rules of container shipping. The COSCO Shipping Galaxy belongs to the state-of-the-art Megamax 24 class of cargo ships. Built in 2021, it can carry 23,000 standard 20-foot containers, a number that makes earlier giant ships look like tugboats by comparison. The engineering behind it is remarkable. At 1,312 feet long, nearly half a mile, and designed to fit through the world's major shipping canals, it stacks containers up to 25 layers high, forming walls of cargo that rise 246 feet above the waterline. For context, that's taller than a 20-story building, cruising along at around 23 mph. The most surprising part is that despite its massive size, it only takes a crew of 22 to run the entire ship, thanks to advanced automation. Its engines put out 107,000 horsepower to push this giant across any ocean, yet it's actually more fuel-efficient per container than smaller ships. The whole design leans on computational fluid dynamics that would have been impossible to calculate just a few years back, cutting down drag and fuel use to levels nobody thought achievable. One ship can carry enough cargo to fill 80,000 shopping carts, or stock 4,000 Walmart stores. China didn't just build bigger ships. It perfected maritime efficiency on a scale that's redefining global logistics. Xuelong 30 taking silver is something you've probably never heard of, even if you've definitely seen the results of its work. The Xuelong 30. Operated by Shanghai Xuelong Heavy Industries, this 679-foot floating crane can lift up to 12,000 tons. But its real achievement is a level of precision that seems almost unreal. What makes the Xuelong 30 stand out is its ability to place massive structures in the middle of ocean currents, typhoon risk zones, and shifting tidal patterns, all with centimeter-level accuracy. This vessel played a key role in building the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, the world's longest sea crossing, precisely lowering 33 enormous bridge sections into place, each weighing thousands of tons. Its dynamic positioning system uses multiple thrusters to hold an exact spot for hours during critical work, even against winds and currents strong enough to push ordinary ships hundreds of yards off course. ZPMC, the company behind the vessel, produces more than 70% of the world's port cranes and has become indispensable for infrastructure projects across 6 continents. Whether it's installing offshore platforms, positioning wind turbines, or building bridges out in open water, this ship makes possible projects that would otherwise take decades using older methods. China's floating nuclear power plants. And finally, we land on something that sounds like pure science fiction but is absolutely real. China's floating nuclear power plants. Built around Linglong's small modular reactor technology, these are completely reinventing what mobile energy generation looks like. They represent one of the boldest maritime concepts to come along in decades, merging naval engineering with nuclear power generation. So how does floating nuclear energy actually work? It comes down to small modular reactors, which are far safer and far more compact than traditional power stations. These floating plants can put out 125 megawatts of electricity, enough to power 150,000 homes for years without needing to refuel. Completely untethered from land-based infrastructure, they act like a portable power grid that can be moved to wherever it's needed across the ocean. Most impressive of all, they can supply power to remote islands, offshore platforms, and coastal developments thousands of miles from any traditional electrical grid. Keeping a nuclear reactor safe and stable on a floating platform takes advanced cooling systems, multiple layers of safety protection, and stabilization technology built to keep everything secure even in rough seas. The strategic flexibility here is huge. These reactors can support development in places where building traditional energy infrastructure would be impractical or wildly expensive. China isn't just building ships anymore. It's building mobile infrastructure that's completely reshaping how energy gets generated and delivered. This is maritime innovation operating at its absolute peak. From massive cargo carriers to aircraft carriers, from deep-sea mining vessels to floating nuclear power plants, we've just walked through 10 Chinese ships that prove maritime engineering has reached a whole new level. So which one impressed you the most? The 23,000 container giant or the floating nuclear reactor rewriting the future of energy? Let us know in the comments.